fatal heart impact, past painful scars. In fact, I blast tasteful bars and pass. I back up my actions, fact don't ask, grab reactions, jacked attack with every word, then act with class as they hear me snap. I got nothing to lose, cause I fought and felt the bruise. Now I'm not the one confused, call the shots and they produce. I ain't lost, I'm finally loose. Pick a new silver excuse, I need the views to boost me to a new abuse of being used. Everybody wants a piece now, y'all can rest in peace now. You're dead to me, so peace out. Remember, you're discreet out. Get ready for defeat now.
Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kiru's show here. And now, whenever we last left off, Izuku Midoriya, him and Momo went into the hyperbolic time chamber. And both of them began to train very intensely. After these two did begin to train, Momo, she began to rapidly catch up to Midoriya. And Midoriya himself began to physically push himself beyond extremes, training in 150 times normal Earth's gravity with no ki, basically physically torturing his body to the point of exhaustion. Momo basically being the one to get him to calm down and de-stress, basically making sure that he doesn't push himself beyond too many extremes. Now, with that being said, Midoriya has almost doubled his power level in 6 months. Now, Midoriya does also have somewhat of a plan to fight Cell. It's a bit complicated, but hopefully it can work. Now, let us pick up with Deku. As Mina and Hope enter the time chamber, they begin their own forms of training. While Deku, he currently flies into a city, and actually does encounter Cell. Cell actually watching Midoriya fly up towards him, being surprised to see the boy after simply just one single day. Now, he does actually ask Midoriya exactly what he is doing here. Well, Cell, I have a plan. You see, I'm looking for a rematch after yesterday. And what makes you think that you honestly would be able to beat me, young man? Let's just say I did a little bit of extra training. So, I'm hoping to test out a few new things. And what makes you think you could beat me? I'm glad you asked. Let's put it this way. I can end this battle anytime I wanted. However, you're an actual threat. Not like Janemba. And pray tell, what would be a Janemba? A crazy lunatic, bent on nothing more than destruction. But you, I can tell you're different. Whatever this Goku is, it was human, wasn't it? You're almost there, young man, but that isn't the case. Goku, Vegeta, Piccolo, and many other humans all make up my biological makeup. And just so you are aware, Saiyan, Namekian, and Earthling, all their powers and techniques coursing through my veins, along with a few others, or at least I believe a few more. Now, let's at least get me a good warm-up in. Cell beginning to power up. Now, Midoriya actually feels Cell's power level, and he believes that they're equally matched. Now, Midoriya is still quite curious. Cell begins to just simply state that this will be quite fun, as Midoriya actually does rush forwards and go to attack Cell. Struggling not to lose my voice. Anyways, now, as these two do go back and forth, Midoriya is going on the complete offensive, going to attack and try and hit Cell. Now, Midoriya does somewhat know of one little thing. If he reveals like high energy now, and he doesn't have a good shot off, then if Cell does deem it to be an actual threat to him, he will destroy everything. Within all of his time in the chamber, him and Momo have tried to come up with a plan. Now, Midoriya, he just beginning to go all out. Complete 100%. As him and Cell go back and forth. Midoriya trying to attack Cell and simply just fight him, being able to get shots off on him, as Cell actually does also get shots off on Midoriya. These two, they are dodging and weaving in between each other's punches, and trying to block and go offensive. Midoriya actually brings his leg up and kneeing Cell directly in his gut. Before with his other leg, he brings it up and kicks away at Cell. As soon as he does go flying away, he begins to just let off Ki Blast as he flies backwards. Cell immediately appearing behind Midoriya as Midoriya actually does swing his arm outwards and smash Cell across the face. Cell responding by bringing his left hand outwards and smashing Midoriya across his own face. Midoriya being sent down into the city below. Now, as soon as Midoriya actually does fall through a building and have it collapse on him, he actually does begin to power up. Midoriya actually going a grade above Super Saiyan. Him going to times 60. As he does actually get back up, and his power does begin to explode from his body. Cell actually quite impressed. So, the boy does have more power hidden below that belt. Well, I believe I can at least begin to stop messing with him. Now, Midoriya's power level went from 9.5 trillion to 11.4, dwarfing his base power level. Now, Midoriya just rushes back in. He does lack a bit of speed. However, he punches Cell directly across the face as hard as he can with the left hook, before bringing up his right hand and immediately just socking Cell as hard as he can in the gut. Cell actually throwing himself forwards winded. Midoriya knocking the breath out of him. I meant wind. Now, as soon as that does happen, Cell actually does go flying backwards, as he actually does go to throw off a Ki Blast towards Midoriya. Midoriya actually just cutting it in half as he does fly forwards, being able to punch Cell again. And Cell actually does recoil as he does try and go on the defensive. Midoriya actually finding this a bit more interesting. Now, Midoriya begins to just start throwing his power around and fighting against Cell, as the world is watching. Now, Midoriya, he looks to be dominating Cell and beating him around. Cell trying to use the special beam cannon, along with actually bringing his hands behind his back and doing the famous Kamehameha. Now, Midoriya watches Cell do that. Cell, actually, he just fires it. Midoriya actually cocking back his own hands as he powers up. Him beginning to bulk up more, blasting off his own power. Now, him and Cell get into a beam struggle. Midoriya and Cell's power levels clashing, and going back and forth. Now, Cell appears to be winning, as Midoriya he just begins to start powering up more and more. until he actually has begun to bulk up in more muscle. And Midoriya just screaming out as loud as he can. Now, as Midoriya does actually do that, he goes to times 80. And he goes to grade 3 of Super Saiyan. Something he really did not want to try and resort to, as he actually does have to rip the rest of his shirt off. Now, as Midoriya does actually do that, he just tosses it away. And he puts his hands back up, beginning to just try and power up more. Midoriya bulking up a bit more in muscle, as everyone on the lookout is watching, along with Kami. Cell's power level greatly dwarfs his own. And within the last 3.5 years, he has put himself through a lot of training. He believes that he might be able to help in the situation. However, after him constantly jumping in the hyperbolic time chamber and trying to train in that rigorous environment, he doesn't believe that he could really be of much help, as the person he is now. Now, he himself does devise somewhat of a plan. While he begins to enact that plan, Midoriya is still fighting. And everyone is watching as Midoriya, he actually does rush towards Cell. As soon as he does actually rush towards him, still firing the beam, he actually is able to get close enough, letting off an extra burst of his power. Cell's beam being completely destroyed, along with actually disintegrating or blasting away half of Cell's arm. And Midoriya actually just watching the beam fly into space, as Cell actually does hold his arm directly at the bend of where his elbow should be, as he actually does drop onto the ground forwards and scream out in pain. Midoriya just watching, as he actually does go to tell Cell that that wasn't even the power he was talking about. Now, Cell simply just looks up at Midoriya, and Midoriya actually does begin to talk, informing Cell that the power he was talking about won't bring anything back. Besides, as he does actually bring his hand up, informing Cell that his next attack will kill him. Now, Midoriya goes to state Hakai. Now, as soon as his hand does begin to glow purple, he lets out the blast. As soon as the blast leaves his hand, Cell disappears from in front of him, appearing directly behind Midoriya. Cell watching the purple blast fly into the distance and tear away at the earth directly in its path before it hits a city. The city being blown to dust. Now, Cell was quite intrigued by all that, as he punches Midoriya with some of his actual strength. Midoriya being sent flying away as he actually does break a few of his ribs. Now, Midoriya, he immediately just debuffs, dropping down out of Super Saiyan, before beginning to cough up a lot of blood. Momo going to intervene, her going to ask Midoriya telepathically if he needs assistance. Midoriya is screaming out in his head that he has this. Just keep on standby. He needs to keep Cell off of everyone else. Midoriya just getting back to his feet, and beginning to power up more. Now, Cell just informs Midoriya that that useless form is nothing more than raw strength. And does he really expect it to beat him? You know, Cell, for once, I think I can agree with you on something. It is raw strength. But, did you really think that that's all I had? Backing me? What exactly are you talking about? Now, Midoriya, he just powers back up into Super Saiyan, as he actually does bring his hand down to his ribcage. Cell watching as Midoriya actually is being to try and heal the area. Now, Midoriya healed it enough for the moment. However, he is going to need a lot of energy for what he is about to try and do. Cell watching Midoriya's aura, or his Super Saiyan aura, disappear from around him, as Midoriya just stands there with his hands at his side. Now, Cell is quite intrigued, and he's waiting for Midoriya to make his move. Now, Midoriya does actually make his move, as he simply just shouts one simple phrase: Kaioken. The red aura and gold aura immediately just powering up around Midoriya, and everyone on the lookout is shocked. Midoriya's power level jumping high, or doubling. Now, Midoriya is resting at around 20 trillion. And Cell is actually quite intrigued, as Midoriya doesn't waste any time, rushing forwards and going on the offensive. Now, Cell is actually knocked clear across his face. And Cell himself was actually genuinely surprised, as Midoriya does actually go to knock him directly in his guts. Now, he hits him center mass and sends him flying backwards, Cell actually beginning to power up himself. And Midoriya realizes now that Cell was not at all serious about anything, as he actually does jump up to Kaioken times 2. King Kai warning Midoriya about what he is currently doing. He is going to kill himself if he does this. Now, Midoriya just screams at King Kai that he's aware. But there's no need to fear the inevitable. Midoriya's power jumping to 40 trillion as he just rushes forwards. Cell going to bring up his hand, catching Midoriya's fist as Midoriya opens his fingers and blast out energy, engulfing Cell's hand as Midoriya then breaks it, before punching Cell directly in his chest. Now, Midoriya just begins to lay in a beatdown over and over again into Cell, and he appears to be dominating Cell for a full 3 to 4 seconds. Cell quickly going on the defensive and beginning to fight against him more, punching Midoriya clear in his ribs. Midoriya having the wind knocked out of him as he does bring his head forwards and smash it directly into Cell's nose, before bringing his hand up and going to blast Cell directly in the face. Now, Midoriya and Cell's current battle goes on for a full 2 minutes, and everyone watching is genuinely in shock. Cell was holding back against Midoriya, and that becomes quite apparent. Now, Midoriya tries jumping up to Kaioken times 3. His power level, once again, jumping high, around 60 trillion. Him and Cell still duking it out. Now then, Midoriya and Cell. These two just keep going. And Midoriya then actually does jump off the gun, turning himself to Kaioken times 4 while he's in Super Saiyan, using his healing aura to restore his body for a brief second. Now, as soon as he does do that, he actually does rush in. Him and Cell fighting on par. Midoriya and Cell going blow for blow and fist for fist. And everyone, they're watching in absolute awe, along with Hisashi and Inko. They've thought about the potential of Kaioken, but one thing they never thought of was combining these forms, Super Saiyan and Kaioken. Watching what their baby is able to do is absolutely astonishing. Midoriya is a genuine tactician, along with Vados being quite impressed. Not at Midoriya's raw power, but that his body has lasted that long, using that current form. Now, Midoriya is already at over 200 times his own body's natural multiplier. And Midoriya actually does go to bring his hand backwards, punching Cell down into the ground, being able to climb on top of Cell as he just begins to pummel into him over and over and over. Now, Midoriya actually does drop out of the form for a brief second. Kaioken wearing off as he does actually throw his hand down for what he thinks to be the killing blow. Cell bringing his hand up and throwing it directly towards Midoriya's throat, before quickly just pushing Midoriya backwards and dragging him through the ground and through the earth, before picking him up and blasting him directly in the stomach, sending him flying away. Now, Midoriya smashes down onto the ground as his body does go rolling. Now, Midoriya just lays there, incredibly injured and exhausted, as Cell actually just stand there over him. Midoriya is looking up into the night sky, breathing heavily. My. You were actually quite impressive. Was that your power? Your god of destruction? You almost had me going there for a minute. But even then, you could only maintain that power for a short time. You actually did have to make me reveal a little bit of my own power there. Now, Cell himself is thinking that was very close. He actually had to go all out in that battle. And he needs to become perfect now. Then he will be unstoppable. Now, as he is thinking that, Midoriya, he's just simply still looking up into the night sky. And Cell does watch as Midoriya's pupils, they disappear, before Midoriya's teeth become jagged. Now, Midoriya simply just begins to grow in muscle mass, and Cell is watching this, along with feeling what is currently happening to Midoriya. Now, Cell simply just backs off, as he is very confused as to why he is growing so much. Now, Midoriya, he grows into a great ape, and Cell watches Midoriya as he just simply begins to scream out in primal rage. Now, Cell is quite impressed, thinking that Midoriya has taken on a new form. However, he's not even strong enough. In fact, he's nowhere near his Super Saiyan level. At least that's what Cell thinks. Before the raging great ape, he simply just does one thing. His fur begins to turn golden and spark with an aura, as this rampaging monster has a power level of 95 trillion. Cell leaving the primal monster to rampage and destroy the very planet he has dedicated his life to protecting. Now, with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed and have an amazing night. I will catch you guys in the next part.